Okay, thank you so much. Olivia, do you want to go ahead and we'll call this meeting to order. Can you go ahead and call the roll for us?
Of course. One moment. I want to get my sheet up. Chair McEntee.
Here.
Vice Chair Caius.
Here.
Commissioner Arnold.
Here.
Commissioner Connolly will be absent tonight. Commissioner Kohler.
Here.
Commissioner Murray.
Here.
Commissioner Loader.
Here.
Perfect. And then alternate Commissioner Rodoni.
Here.
Alternate Commissioner Campbell.
Here.
Alternate Commissioner Moody.
Here.
Great. And alternate Commissioner Sabella let us know that he will be absent tonight as well. And because of Commissioner Connolly's absence, Commissioner Rodoni will be seated as a regular commissioner tonight. And Chair, we do have quorum.
My apologies. I'm switching back and forth between devices here. Thank you very much, Olivia. And we will move to agenda review. Does anyone on the commission want to make any changes to the agenda? Okay, seeing none, are there any changes to the agenda from the public?
There are no hands raised and no emails received.
Thank you very much. I will entertain a motion to approve the agenda.
I so move.
Second.
Moved by Commissioner Arnold, seconded by Commissioner Kohler. Olivia, will you please call the roll?
Yes. Vice Chair Caius.
Aye.
Commissioner Arnold.
Aye.
Commissioner Rodoni.
Aye.
Commissioner Kohler.
Aye.
Commissioner Murray.
Aye.
Commissioner Loader. Larry.
Larry, you're.
Larry, we still can't hear you.
Okay, better now?
Yes, we can hear you. So what's your vote on the agenda?
Aye. Aye.
Aye. Okay, so we can see you and now we can't see your head. So
I know.
okay.
It's probably better that way. Let me see.
Okay. Go ahead, Olivia.
Chair McEntee.
Aye.
Motion passes.
All righty, we'll now move to public open time. This portion of the meeting is reserved for persons desiring to address the commission on any matter not on the current agenda. All statements that require a response will be referred to staff for reply in writing or will be placed on the commission's agenda for consideration at a later meeting. Speakers are limited to 3 minutes. Are there any speakers for public open time?
We see no hands raised and no emails received.
Okay, so seeing none, we'll close public open time and we'll move to the consent calendar.
Oh, God.
These items are considered ministerial or not substantive in nature and subject to a single motion approval. Does any member of the commission wish to pull any items from consent? And seeing.
Move the consent.
Okay, any member of the public wish to comment or pull any items from the consent calendar?
No hands raised, no emails received.
Okay, seeing none, close to public comment. I think we have a motion to approve the consent calendar. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Okay, so who made the original motion? Was it Commissioner Murray? Yeah. Moved by Commissioner Murray, seconded by Vice Chair Caius. Olivia, will you call the roll, please?
Vice Chair Caius.
Aye.
Commissioner Arnold.
Aye.
Commissioner Rodoni.
Aye.
Commissioner Kohler.
Aye.
Commissioner Murray.
Aye.
Commissioner Loader.
Aye.
Chair McEntee.
Aye.
Motion passes.
We will move now to the first of our 2 public hearing items. Item number 4, approval of resolution 21-20, reorganization of 49 Ranch Road to the town of Tiburon and to Sanitary District 4. And there's also 2 alternatives there. Jason, do you have a staff report?
Actually, one small correction. You said Sanitary District 4, it's Sanitary District 2.
My apologies, Sanitary District 2.
Yeah, not a problem.
Item
So-
4, Sanitary District 2.
Yes, correct. So this item is an item that is in an unincorporated island in Tiburon. The applicant originally came to us back in 2020, asking to be annexed into the sanitary district number 2. Due to our dual annexation policy, I requested that they go to the town of Tiburon first and see about getting a pre-zoning done so we can do a dual annexation of both of this parcel, both into the sanitary district as well as into the town, because both sides of this parcel are in Tiburon as well as across the street. So it made perfect sense. This was kind of like a little small pocket that was remaining that hadn't been annexed in this one little section of unincorporated area around Tiburon. So they went to the town of Tiburon, went through the pre-zoning process. That pre-zoning process has now been finished. The town has approved this. You will see that we have sent out 2 supplemental agenda items for this item, because we did get some stuff after the packet came out. One is a letter from Tiburon requesting that we approve the application, not including Paradise Drive. While this parcel itself says it's on Ranch Road, what I call the backside, or one of the, it's kind of an odd shaped parcel when you put all the parcels together. One of the parcels touches Paradise Drive, so I call it kind of the backside of one parcel is on Paradise Drive. So as you may recall from a few years ago, with another application that we had that was actually located where the address was on Paradise Drive, that is a very, for lack of a better term, contentious item between the town and the county over how that road is maintained. The county has a very, has a pretty strong position it's had for quite some time that it wants to see Paradise Drive annexed into Tiburon anytime that we're doing something along Paradise Drive. Tiburon, as you will see in the letter, has its opinions, and I will let that letter speak for the town. But their opinion is that this process, at least particularly for this application, that they did not include an analysis of Paradise Drive into Tiburon when they were doing the pre-zoning. And so for that reason, they're requesting that you not do this because of what I would call the level of interest on both sides of this. I purposely brought this to you so it could go either way. I am not making a determination on this. I am in a similar frustration to the town of Tiburon with how the county addressed some of the issues, or I should say lack of addressing some of the issues during the process. They came to us later in the process than they should have with bringing up Paradise Drive officially in writing. Although for the record, I kind of knew all along that Paradise Drive was an issue for them. And I think, everyone involved, just given the history of Paradise Drive, would understand that fact. But it was not incorporated in Tiburon's decision when they were doing the pre-zoning, and they may have made different decisions on pre-zoning had they included the section of Paradise Drive in it. So one of my goals in this process is Paradise Drive is a very contentious issue. The last thing and I believe the commission's position has been in the past as well, is we don't want to get individual applicants tied up in a process that is a bigger issue than any one parcel. It is a long standing issue. It is a very long road that has a lot of issues within it. So that was my reason tonight for saying, let's not delay the applicant up. The commission can make the decision to include the road or not include the road as it sees fit. I will leave that up to the commission to decide. My one request is that we try and make a decision tonight for this applicant as to what we're going to do. So they're not held up. They have, they are looking as soon as this process is done, assuming that we do the annexation, they're going to go to Tiburon and ask them to do some remodeling of their house and some other stuff. The applicant is here and can talk to more what their intentions are. If for some reason you deny this and say, we're just not going to do we're not going to do anything with this, I'm going to leave it in unincorporated Marin, they're going to go to the county, planning department folks and say, here's what we're looking to do and try and get annexed in. So my goal and hope is that we can solve, at least for this applicant tonight, for their needs, get this resolved tonight while we continue to work on this bigger picture Paradise Drive problem. So that's my high level quick review. I will note that the applicant is here. I'm sure if they want to, we'll be able to make some comments, as well as staff representing the town of Tiburon. I don't see county staff on this particular item. I think there was county staff for a different item for our next item. But if county staff does show up, I'll let you know.
Okay. And then I believe Dina is here from the town of Tiburon. Dina, did you have anything you wanted to add?
So, excuse me. So at this time, I really don't. You did receive the letter that kind of lays out what we are kind of feeling at this point in time with some of the history of how we viewed the project. And so we really, in conclusion, as you saw, wish for the commission to actually support this annexation without Paradise Drive, simply because we haven't analyzed it. We have no written documentation from the county as such, and didn't consider it as part of our process whatsoever. So I'm here for questions if you'd like. I've been involved in the process now for, I think, about 8 to 10 months now. So I'm happy to answer any questions as well. Thank
And
you.
Dina, just you just have town of Tiburon there, but you're the community development director. Is that correct? Just
I
wanted-
am the director of community development. That is
Okay.
correct. Sorry.
Okay, thank you
Thank you.
very much.
Thank you.
I think we'll go ahead and hear from the applicant, and then we'll open the public hearing, see if there is any public, well, then we'll do any questions for the commission and then open the public hearing for any comments. And is the applicant here? Is that Jackie?
Yeah, it's Jackie there.
Okay,
You can
Jackie,
introduce
is there,
yourself, Jackie.
is there anything you'd like to say about the application before we move on?
Sure. I wanted to say thank you to Jason and Dina and Olivia for all of the guidance they've given us through this process. We did not realize what a can of worms we were opening when we applied to connect, to take out this 100-year septic system back in October 2020. And here we are a year and a half later, still realizing now how significant that request was. But we're planning to build a single family house on the property, and it's going to be our family house. So we're looking forward to getting all our approvals. Thank you.
Thank you, Jackie. So then are there any questions from the commission before we go to the open the public hearing and hear from any public members who wish to speak? Commissioner Murray.
There's some correspondence from a particular council member, and there's some reference to the complete town council. I just want to make sure that that particular council member is speaking for the entire council. Is that correct?
So I wouldn't say that that particular council member speaks for the entire council. That particular council member during our hearing did ask me specifically, is Paradise Drive included in this application, Dina? And I said, no, it is not being included. And part of her decision to accept the pre-zoning, hence the future annexation, was that she knew that Paradise Drive was not being included. So that is her voice of, the letter is solely from Alice Fredericks.
Okay, thank you.
Commissioner Rodoni.
Thank you, Chair McAtee. Jason, I'm just thinking about what is LAFCO responsibility going forward to help resolve this issue? Do we have plans to do that? And is it in our work plan? Because this has been going on for years, and perhaps some reassurance that we have a plan to address this issue and try and resolve it once and for all was basically my
Yes.
question.
And by issue, you mean Paradise Drive, Commissioner Rodoni?
Yeah, thank you. The
Yeah, so
Paradise
I want
Drive
to be
issue,
careful.
yeah.
I want to be careful, and Mala can stop me for getting too deep in the weeds on something that's technically outside of the application itself. But the history of Paradise Drive, when we did the MSR for Tiburon Peninsula, we did bring this up as an issue that needed to be addressed. I've been working with county and town staff, although albeit very slowly, to try and resolve this problem. We, as a semi-group, kind of met, I want to say it was April of this year, where town and county staff both agreed that there was some information that needed to be shared from both sides. To be fair, I've seen no information from either side at this point. I know to defend both jurisdictions, the key people involved on both sides retired, or at least on one side maybe left. I don't know if he retired or left, but the key people that had the knowledge of history left, and so now they're struggling to figure out who can get the information that they need. For the county side, it's a little bit easier because they're a much bigger organization, have it. For Tiburon side, it's a much harder thing because they're a much smaller staff. So the person who left was key and critical, and they just don't have that history of knowledge there. So it's taking them longer to try and figure out how to bring that information together to get it. I will say this, I know county staff, senior level staff today at the county emailed the town manager for Tiburon saying after the holidays, we need to sit down and have a discussion about this. So I know that there's interest in trying to figure out how to resolve this, and LAFCo is happy to be the, as I always like to say, the arbitrator or mediator in this process to try and figure out how to get all sides together. And I will continue to do so. But reality is it hasn't, since the first application we got, since I've been here around Paradise Drive, there's really been not much movement on the subject matter as a whole.
Thank you, Jason. So yeah, that's what I wanted to hear. It's in progress and we're working on it. Thank you.
Okay.
So Jason, building on Commissioner Rodoni's question there. So you've begun the discussions and this is part of the Tiburon Peninsula MSR that's coming up this next fiscal year. Is that correct?
No, that was a past one that Jaren did, I want to say a year or two ago. I'm drawing a blank, Jaren, on when that
Sorry,
one got
Tiburon
completed.
Peninsula is coming. Sorry, it's the Southern Marin one that's coming up.
Yeah.
Okay, so it is so Paradise Drive, the resolution of Paradise Drive as a bigger issue is an ongoing issue from the previous
Correct.
MSR. Okay, and Dina, is from your point of view, is the town of Tiburon open to having a more comprehensive discussion about Paradise Drive outside of this application?
Yes, and so we did begin discussions and Jason is correct. We did sit down, I want to say March, April, to begin discussion. On both sides, we needed to bring more data back so we could all understand what is the impact of us maintaining it or the county keeping it, or how does the tax basis work, or all these things have to be decided. So our public works director left for another job and the county is retired. So things have been somewhat stalled. So we are willing to come to the table and begin discussion.
Okay, very good. Thank you. Are there any other questions from the commission? Okay, so seeing none, we'll go ahead and open the public hearing and see if there are any comments from the public.
I see no hands raised, and you got the email where you received the letter from Tiburon's already in your packet. So I'm not going to read that into the record.
Okay, so if there are no comments from the public, we'll close the public hearing portion and bring it back to the commission for any deliberation. So what we're deliberating on is whether there are two resolutions. Actually, Jason, do you want to tee up what the two choices are?
So there are two resolutions in front of you today. One the big difference between them is one resolution includes Paradise Drive and one does not. One of the things I will note that I kind of like brushed over it is you will notice that there's a lot of parcel numbers and some repeat of parcel numbers. In order to be annexed into the sanitary district, one of the four parcels that this property makes up is already in the sanitary district. The other three aren't, so we're only annexing 3 of the 4 parcels in. The other, but we need to annex all 4 parcels into the town if you choose to do so. So that's why you see a really long title and a big discrepancy in how stuff works when you're looking at the details of it. But your big difference right now is, do you want to approve, the first decision is, do you want to approve annexation into the town in the sanitary district? And then the second discussion is, do you include Paradise Drive or not?
Okay, so then let's discuss it that way. If anyone has any thoughts or objections to the annexation into the sanitary district, let's bring those up now. If not, then let's deliberate about whether or not to include the annexation into Tiburon as part of this, or whether we want to defer that until the larger discussion is able to continue. Ideally, this, we would have, those discussions have begun, but ideally they would have concluded before this, but hopefully they will continue after this. So so I have Commissioner Kohler and then Commissioner Murray.
Yeah, I think it's best for us to go ahead and not include Paradise Drive. I think it makes sense based on the history that Jason provided and what we know about this situation from the past. And also the letter from Greg Chanis, the town manager, kind of lays out that this piece of it was not included in their original work that they did. So it makes sense to me to approve everything, but don't include Paradise Drive. Thank you.
Commissioner Murray? Thank you, Commissioner Kohler.
But Commissioner Kohler just mentioned seemed very reasonable. And it seems like that kind of meets the current standards in Tiburon to start to need more facts and start to address that. And also I appreciate Dina Tisani indicating willingness to continue to work with the county on this, which I think is very necessary. So my real question is really for Mala. Do we need to have two separate actions now, one to the sanitary district and then one to the city, or are we doing that together perhaps without Paradise Drive?
It's just one action. It's one resolution that includes the reorg with both the dual annexation to both the sanitary district and the city, or the town, excuse me.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, Vice Chair Caius.
Yeah, I'll just really reiterate what Barbara and Craig have already said. I think inserting ourselves now into where we're trying to, force an issue with Paradise Drive and reconcile something that's been going on for years, apparently, doesn't seem appropriate for tonight. So it seems like what we really probably should do is approve the annexation so that the property owners aren't, negatively impacted, but don't include Paradise Drive. And then, strongly encourage the county and the city, the town of Tiburon, to come to agreements on how to handle all of Paradise Drive. And to the extent that LAFCo can participate and assist with that, I think we should do that. But it doesn't make sense to me to try to force that issue tonight.
Yeah, are there? Thank you, Vice Chair Caius. I'm inclined to agree, although I think we do need to resolve Paradise Drive. It's an issue that came up during the Tiburon Peninsula MSR and is, although it's complicated and messy, it is something that does need to be dealt with. And we certainly don't need to hold up this application for that, but I think that we've all made it clear how important it is to get that resolved. And I'm happy to hear from the town of Tiburon that there is a commitment to participate openly in that process. Dean, I don't know if I'm mischaracterizing it, but it sounded like that there is an openness to trying to make that resolution happen in short order.
There is an openness for us to begin discussions on that, yes, and to figure out where we both stand on Paradise Drive, yes.
Okay, very good. Very much appreciate hearing that from Tiburon. Mala, which of the two resolutions are we looking at if we are not conditioning annexation into the town of Tiburon? Because just looking at the titles, I actually am not sure which one of these we want
You're
to take.
looking at the first of the two.
And you could make it clear in your motion, if that's where we're headed, that it very clearly it's the resolution for reorganization that does not include Paradise Drive, but it is the first of the two, as Jason mentioned.
Okay,
I would move that we approve resolution 2120, the reorganization of 4916 Ranch Road, not including Paradise Drive.
And I would support Barbara and second that. And again, add the thought that we encourage the county and the town of Tiburon to work together on that, and we certainly will participate in that to the degree we can help.
okay.
And I'll accept that friendly amendment.
Okay, we'll call that a friendly amendment that the motion is to approve the first resolution, which does not include annexation of Paradise Drive, with the commission's direction to staff to continue to facilitate discussions between the county and the town of Tiburon to resolve Paradise Drive as a separate bit of staff direction. Is that, Mala, is that an acceptable motion or
Yes.
acceptable capitulation of the motion? Okay. Okay, Olivia, will you call the roll if there's no further deliberation?
Yeah, Vice Chair Caius,
Aye.
Commissioner Arnold,
Aye.
Commissioner Rodoni,
Aye.
Commissioner Kohler,
Aye.
Commissioner Murray,
Aye.
Commissioner Loader. We need you to unmute, Larry.
Aye.
Perfect. Chair McEntee.
Aye.
Motion passes for annexation without Paradise Drive.
Thank you very
Thank you.
much.
Thank you. Thank you to the applicant and thank you to staff and to Dina. Thanks for being here. We appreciate that. And we appreciate you hearing from us that how important the commission considers it that these discussions happen and that there's some resolution. Okay, Jason, is there anything further you need as far as staff direction on that?
Not on number 4, no.
Okay, we will move to item number 5. Our second public hearing item, continue hearing for the reorganization of the lands of Marin County Open Space District, including detachment from the city of Mill Valley and annexation to the town of Corte Madera and Sanitary District Number 2 for eventual addition of the APA portion to 800 Corte Madera. Jason, the staff report, please.
Sure. First off, I need to apologize to all of you. I think I have created a mini monster in our staff. They've really learned CKH really well. And the reason we have this on the agenda is because the application was submitted to us and we accepted it. But the process has not been finished for on the Corte Madera side of this application. So if you want to, I can go into the details of the application itself, or what I'm going to do, what I suggest doing is just give you the highlights of where we're at with this process and save the details for the commission meeting where we actually do approvals on this. But if anyone wants details, let me know. I'm happy to give you details.
So is the staff suggesting that we continue this item until the next
Yes.
meeting?
Correct.
Okay.
And the reason why we want to continue is, first off, we realized this is a 100% consent application. The one issue that we forgot about when we were doing this is that it's changing the sphere of influence for 2 communities, Mill Valley and Corte Madera. And that even though 100% consent applications don't need public hearing notices published in the IJ, when it pertains to a sphere of influence, it actually does, and staff missed that. So we did not properly notice this for the sphere of influence update. But in addition to that, Corte Madera has not finished its, has not done its approval for the tax exchange agreement and hasn't done its approval yet for pre-zoning. And we need both of those actions to occur before we can approve this either which way. So staff is recommending that we continue this to the next hearing, where I believe Corte Madera will have had a chance to do everything and we will have publicly noticed this item properly. And I can give you a full report at that meeting unless someone really wants the full report tonight.
As far as the Mill Valley side, Mill Valley approved a resolution supporting this motion, supporting the boundary change at our meeting on Monday. So Mill
Correct.
Valley's is done. Okay. Are there any questions on this?
Oh,
from the commission or yeah, yes.
I'm sorry, I do want to mention, we do have a member from County Park, Marin County Parks who's here, as well as representatives for the parcel owner. So they are available if you have any questions on it, but it looks like we may punt this, we have to punt it anyways to the next meeting, but if you have questions for them, they are here tonight for you.
Are there any questions from the commission? Okay, we'll go ahead and open the public hearing. Is there any?
I see no hands raised and no emails received, although I want to give a second for any of our 3 representatives. If they want to speak, let them raise their hand real quickly. Otherwise, oh, yep, we got one of them.
Mr. Hodo, go ahead.
Yes, my name's Rob Hodel from Cobble Patch, Duffy and Bass, and we represent the property owner, or actually the former owner that began this process and is continuing it after the sale. Just wanted to, from a timing standpoint, we've completed everything we need to do going through the city of Mill Valley, but do need to receive at least before the certificate of completion is filed. We need to do the pre-zoning and have the town also approve the property tax exchange agreement that was just approved by Mill Valley. The one thing that I would ask the members and staff to give some consideration to would be at the next hearing, if there's a chance that the pre-zoning, because it requires a planning commission recommendation, and then
Mr. Hodel, your internet cut out on you for a second, so you got dropped for a second.
Okay, so is this
Just repeat
working
that
now?
last sentence.
Now you're okay.
Pre-zoning required, you said.
Yes, so the pre-zoning at the town is going to require 2 hearings, one at the planning commission and one at the town council. So there is a chance that that process won't be fully complete by the time the February LAFCo hearing occurs. And, you know, we would ask staff and the commissioners to give some consideration to still holding the February hearing and approving the reorganization conditioned upon completion of the pre-zoning before Jason, as the executive officer, issues the certificate of completion, just to help us get through. We have, you know, a lot of steps to get through in this process of basically complying with the MAP Act after this annexation. After the annexation, making this a parcel that can be legally transferred from this district to our client. So, and that's all I wanted to say. It was just to give some consideration to that. And I thank all of you for your time and consideration.
Thank you, Mr. Hodel. Any other comments from the county or the any of the other parties involved? It looks like County Parks is. Do you have anything?
No. Yeah, no,
Okay.
Thank you for your time on this. I look forward to seeing you all in February.
Okay, good. Then we'll go ahead and close the public hearing and bring it back to the commission. And Jason, if you could comment on the timing requirements on the certificate of completion and what you'd recommend that we do. If we continue the item, can we extend the certificate of completion deadline so that they can fit within those requirements for 2 hearings, one from the planning commission and one from the town council?
Yeah, so Mala will correct me if I'm wrong on this, but when we do approve, if we decide to do this at the next meeting and want to do approvals and everything hasn't been completed, we can make a condition of approval that it is done. Once we do that, that starts a clock that is in CKH that basically says you have 1 year to meet conditions. If you don't meet those conditions, you can come back and ask for an extension. I don't think in this case that you're going to need the full year, but you have seen applications come back in the past where they've needed to do an extension or 2. So that is a possibility and something. And if the commission wants, when I bring this back, we can bring it back if the stuff hasn't been completed. And I agree with what the representative said, that there is a chance that this doesn't all get completed by the February meeting, but gets completed like in February. And so instead of waiting until the April meeting, we can get everything done so the transfers can occur. Because I know that there's interest from both the county parks department as well as from the property owner to get this all finalized and completed so that everyone can go on with their lives at that point.
So Jason, if just to clarify there, that means that at the February meeting, we will be considering the approval of the reorganization and the detachment and the annexation, as well as the SOI adjustments to City of Mill Valley and Town of Corte Madera. And if by February, Corte Madera has not done the tax exchange or the pre-zoning, we could still continue with approving the reorganization and approving the SOIs, all of that contingent upon those 2 things.
Correct.
The 1 year shot clock or whatever we want to call it, with a 1 year timeline of completion for all of that.
That is correct.
Okay. So it sounds pretty likely that those things would be completed within 1 year. So there's nothing that we're foreseeing that's going to cause that to be a problem if we do this in February.
Correct.
But the clock for LAFCo for the certificate of completion would start at the February meeting should we choose to accept.
Yes.
Okay. Commissioner Murray.
Just procedurally, are we continuing the public hearing? Is that what the item
Yes,
is?
we would continue the public hearing unless Mala has other advice.
Okay,
No,
well, I'll move that.
To the February meeting, as I understand it, correct?
Mala, can you just restate the motion so that we know what we're doing?
Sure. It appears the motion is to continue item 6, which is the public hearing on the reorg of the lands of Marin County Open Space District. And I won't read the full title, to the February 10th meeting at 7 p.m.
Okay, so it's been moved by Commissioner Murray. Do we have a second?
Second.
Seconded by Commissioner Loader. Olivia, will you call the roll?
Also, just a quick clarification for the public record. I believe it's item 5, not item 6. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Correct.
I apologize.
Okay,
Right.
beautiful. Then yes, I will call the roll. Vice Chair Caius,
Aye.
Commissioner Arnold,
Aye.
Commissioner Rodoni,
Aye.
Commissioner Kohler,
Aye.
Commissioner Murray,
Aye.
Commissioner Loader,
Aye.
Chair McEntee.
Aye.
Motion passes.
All right, thank you very much. So we'll see all of you all again in a couple of months. Thank you, Jason, for the clarification on that, and thank you to staff for being really on top of CKH. Really appreciate your attentiveness to detail on that. Okay, so we will now move to item 6. Discussion and approval of unspent fiscal year 2021 funds and transfer of funds to fiscal year 21-22 budget. Jason, will you give the staff report, please?
Sure. As this is kind of the conclusion of how our reorganization of our budget process works, what we do is once we've closed out our books for the fiscal year, I do a review and see how much money did we really have? Did we spend it all? Did we have any left over? It is always my goal to have a little bit left over. This year we have a little bit more than normal, than what I would consider normal for us, partly because we originally were planning to attend conferences and things like that, and they got canceled, and that money got credited back to the fiscal year. And we also had some very late application fees come in. So we ended up with fiscal year 2021, after we already did some spending of that money, of money we knew we weren't going to have in our carry forward fund for this fiscal year, we ended up with $32,000. Now, according to Marin LAFCo policy 3.10B BII, enough little subsections there. There is a policy in there where that money that can do one of two things. Either the commission can decide to do something with the money, or that money automatically gets moved to next year's carry forward. So the carry forward fund that we use to help fund next year's balance is used. So that $32,000, what staff is recommending to the commission is that we take part of it for a one-time expenditure for us to use this year, that we take $15,500, and that will be divided between two different subject matters. One is to our professional services. As you will see in our next item, we're going to be talking about digitization of our application files. And so I'll get into more detail when we get there, but a good portion of that $15,000 is for that. Another $500 is to help. We've been doing a lot of stuff with our storage, our rental storage stuff, partly because we've been trying to get prepared for a potential digitalization. And so we give an extra $500 to that line item. So we take, a total of $15,500 and move that over, increasing the two line items accordingly. And then we take the remaining amount of the $3,200, and that just gets placed into what will be used for our carry forward fund for fiscal year 22-23. So we're already going to be starting with a nice pot of money there that will help us keep the dues that we ask our member agencies to pay down a little bit, so that we already know that we'll have $3,200, or I should say about $1,600 or $16,000, excuse me, sitting there waiting for that, plus any application fees, plus any unspent money that we get from this year. So it will, we'll be in a good spot for that. So LAFCO is asking the commission to, according to the LAFCO policy 3.10B BII, to authorize $1,500 and $500 to be used as is shown in the thing for the two line items, and then take the remainder and just put that into the unspent funds for fiscal year 22-23. Happy to answer any questions you have on that.
Any questions from the commission?
Well, I don't really have any questions about it per se, but I'll just say personally, even though I am chair of the budget committee didn't meet to discuss this. So I'm speaking as me individually, not the whole committee, but I have no problem with that reallocation. I think it's consistent with what the budget committee has done in the past, and it still puts us in a strong financial position. So I think it's a fine thing to do and support it.
And this is Barbara. I just want to say, Vice Chair Caius called me today and asked if I was supportive, and I'm absolutely supportive. I think it's appropriate and a good use of moving money around. So thank you for presenting that, Jason.
Okay, if there are no other questions from the commission, we'll open it up to public comment.
There are no hands raised, no emails received, sorry.
Okay, so seeing no comments, we will close the public comment. Bring it back to the commission for deliberation or motion. You've heard from the two members of the budget committee. Any other deliberations or a motion? Any other questions?
If there are no other questions, I'll make the motion to support that first option and reallocate the funds as Jason has described it per section 301B VII.
And I'll second that motion.
Okay, moved by Vice Chair Caius and seconded by Commissioner Kohler. Olivia, will you please call the roll?
Of course. Vice Chair Caius,
Aye.
Commissioner Arnold,
Aye.
Commissioner Rodoni,
Aye.
Commissioner Kohler,
Aye.
Commissioner Murray,
Aye.
Commissioner Loader,
Aye.
Chair McEntee.
Aye.
Motion passes.
Okay, we will move to our next business item number 7, approval of contract with Left Coast for digitization of LAFCo files. Jason, staff report, please.
Sure. So as the money that you just approved to be spent for professional services, this is where we're planning to spend that money. Olivia did a great deal of research into companies that do digitalization. We looked at all sorts of options. The main goal for us is to figure out how do we get all of our files online, or at least the key documents of our files online. And so we started first with looking at can we find someone who can scan and remediate and do the whole kit and caboodle of everything, make all the documents fancy and nice looking, and realized very quickly that that was an extremely expensive thing. We would never be able to afford to do it. It would take us years and years and years to find the money to do it. So we instead went with who can just do a basic scanning of all of our documents. And so that's what we're presenting to you today is basic scanning. Olivia went through a whole bunch she talked to all the other LAFCo clerks, find out who's done projects like this to get information from them, like who did they use, what information do we need to know about. I did a similar thing on the EEO listserv to get the EEO's perspective. I believe Olivia also talked with some of our local agencies to find out if they've done scanning. So we really scoured the list to find out who does this stuff. We then went out to said here's what we're looking to do. We tried to give them here's an example of what we're looking for to try and get a set price of what we actually think we would need. So we were trying to get an apples to apples comparison. Unfortunately, everyone does things slightly differently. So Olivia ended up creating a very complex grid that actually showed how much costs were and broke everything down so we could try and figure out what real costs were. One of the biggest concerns that just to be blunt about it, that I've had with this project is anyone that I talked with says trying to go digital and scanning a bunch of documents, people will give you quotes. They're never really accurate. They can get, good companies will give you decent quotes, but no one can really tell you what it is, because what they're doing is they're saying you have a banker's box full of files, and the average banker's box has X number of sheets in it. And so they give you a quote based on how many banker's boxes you have, but they actually charge you by the sheet. And so when you're doing it, you're telling them scan everything. You don't know exactly how many pages they're going to end up scanning. That's why we did our best to try and go in our own. Olivia and I actually went to the warehouse where all of our application files, the old ones at least, are stored. And we looked through there, tried to figure out what was in them, tried to get an understanding of really how much we're really talking about. She then translated all that information into a spreadsheet where she then said, okay, so how much are you really charging per page? And, some charge one price for a certain size, a different price for another size, and then charge for really large maps. And so we tried to figure out to our best of our ability using estimates as to what we think we would have. We think that that in order to scan all of our current applications that have not been remediated, so the stuff since Olivia started, which is a year's worth of applications, we're fine with, but all the stuff before that is not okay. And so we need to go back and do most of our files and scan them. And we think that we have about $11,000 worth of scanning with Left Coast. They came in at, what we did is we came in and figured out who had the best prices. Olivia then sent each one at a time the same exact LAFCo file, and they went and scanned that file. We then compared what do their scans look like, and so based on what their scans look like / costs, Left Coast is where we came down to being the best option for LAFCo in this process. They seem to fit our needs. at the right price. They were one of the cheaper ones to do it, and they did good quality work. They're also semi-local. None of them are really truly local, but they're semi-local. The president of the company was actually the one that came to our office to pick up the file that they did the test scan on. So just to show you how, how engaged the senior leadership of this organization is and how local they are. That's who we're recommending that you go with. You will see that the not to exceed amount is for $15,000. That does give us a little bit of room if things go a little bit more expensive, but we also have a hard limit because I don't want to go too high, because one LAFCo said they didn't have a not to exceed amount and they ended up with a bill that was twice as much as they thought it was going to be. So this is my way of, and LAFCo understands when they hit $15,000, they can continue to scan, but we're not paying them a cent more than $15,000. And so that's why you'll see an amount a little bit higher. And if everything works out well, we get it under, I might try and throw in like some other side little things, because we do actually have a lot more files and things that need to be scanned at some point. But the applications is the one that we probably go into the most and need the most information on that's offsite. And this will allow us to bring everything on site because it'll all be digital at that point. And that's the end of my report. I'm happy to take any questions.
Commissioner Kohler.
Yeah, just Jason, thanks. And thanks to Olivia, both of you, but Olivia for doing all that research. Just one question. So what years are we looking at for these applications? Is it 5 years, 10 years? I don't have a good feel for that.
1963 when we first started, all the way up to this year. We will really be truly getting all of our files into digital format with this one kick and caboodle. Like, that was my goal. I wanted to see, could we do it all in one thing? And I think we can. It's if things get a little bit more expensive than we thought, we may end up having to cut off a few years, but the goal is start with the most recent and work our way back. And just, at some point, if we just get past the point, then we just, stop and rethink about what we're doing.
That's excellent. Thank you very much.
Yep.
Looks like I've got Commissioner Moody. Commissioner Murray, did you want to? I think Commissioner Murray had his hand up first, and then you went. Commissioner Murray, do you still have a question?
Yeah, so
Okay, and then
well,
Commissioner Moody after that.
so actually a couple of years ago, Peter Banning had mentioned that often we have attorneys that will call and want to find out, was this intersection annexed at this certain time? And so one, I really want to thank staff for kind of pushing this over the finish line. It's always kind of a thankless task, low priority. So it's really great to see this kind of moving forward. And then also the functionality of it. So we had discussed before a kind of a word search. So I'm pretty sure Olivia's got all our requests dialed in, but one of the key things is really someone could just get in there and search a particular topic or something and then start to pull up these digitized documents. So maybe you could speak to that a little bit. And again, thanks very much.
Yeah, so I'm happy that we were able to move this forward for you, Commissioner Murray. I know this has been something that's been on my list, and this will pair up very well. If you go to our website right now, you actually will find a log, although it'll get updated next week for tonight's editions, that has a list of all of our applications, what the status is of them, and same with our resolutions. So this will go very well, where now we give the public the ability to go do their own research the same way we would, pull up our old logs, find out the thing, and then they come to us and say, hey, I need LAFCo file X, rather than coming to us and say, I need some random intersection. They probably know better than we do where that intersection is located, and hopefully they can figure out which file works. And then we can pull those digital files instead of saying, yeah, we'll get back to you in 2 weeks when we can get the file delivered to us and we can look at it and then scan it in and send it to you. We can instead just say, here it is the same day.
Thank you, Commissioner Murray. Commissioner Moody.
Yeah, Sanitary District 5 is in the process of digitizing all of its stuff. And one of the traps was how you code them. And I didn't quite understand in your description whether they're already coded with a filing system or the system is going to do it for you. So anyway, that was a trap because it just was, we had to have staff sit around and code it anyway. So anyway, any comments on that? I'd like to hear.
Yeah. So Olivia found one of the things that we are requiring is what they will do is they will take LAFCo file 1 and LAFCo file 2, and they will take everything that's in that folder and make it one PDF. So, and they will label it as long as, and this is one of the issues we have that staff is going to have to figure out how to fix, which is some of our files are so old that the little stickers that were put on them have fallen off and we don't know, like, they're not going to know what file it is. But as long as that little sticker is on the file that says this is file 1, they're going to name that file 1. And they're going to go to name the next one file 2. And there eventually will be a few of them in there that they're just going to say, we're not sure what this, the thing fell off. We don't know what it is. And then Olivia or I or somebody on staff will go in there and figure out, oh, we can go through the documents and read, okay, this is file whatever, and label it as such. So all of our things will be filed. Now, the one thing that we're not going to have is separation of individual documents. Like if it's LAFCo file 1, everything's going to be in there. Any handwritten notes, any, back in the day, they did certificate mail receipts, and those are still in there. All of that stuff is going to appear in that PDF that we get, but each PDF will be for each individual file.
But it's going to be digitized and ADA compliant, so it will be text searchable.
It will be digitized, not ADA compliant. It will be searchable.
And that's to address Commissioner Murray's earlier question, because he had wanted to know if the documents would be searchable or not. Yes, OCR, which is optical character recognition, which is what adds that coding layer for text, will be added. So you should be able to control find in a document and find the text associated with text in the document. It won't be perfect because the scanner isn't great at recognizing older documents, which is where the ADA compliance comes in. That's when I actually have a whole separate program I have to use for those older documents to correct the text layer, because regular PDF remediation programs don't offer that. So that's kind of the nuance and the difference between those two components of being searchable versus compliant.
Thank you, Olivia. That's a very thorough answer, because I think that's the one of the challenges is that if it's not ADA compliant, we can't put it on the website. Is that correct, Olivia?
Yes, which is why the goal is to remediate only the most essential documents and get those up online, because the return on investment in terms of the amount of time I'd invest into remediating some of the less crucial documents would we'd start to lose out on that time investment. So yes, it is quite a time consuming process.
Okay, so they wouldn't be necessarily ADA compliant, but everything would be digital, and which means that if there was a Public Records Act request or some sort of request, any request from the public, you'd be able to find it easily, and you'd be able to remediate as needed, just in time for whatever is required. Is that correct? Yeah, I'm seeing some nods. Okay. Any other questions from the commission on this? Seeing none, we'll go to public comment.
No hands raised, no emails received.
Okay, so seeing that no public comments, we'll close public comment, bring it back to the commission for deliberation or motion.
I'll move staff recommendation 1, which is authorizing executive officer to enter an agreement with Left Coast for not to exceed the amount of $15,000.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Commissioner Arnold seconds. Olivia, will you call the roll?
Vice Chair Caius,
Aye.
Commissioner Arnold,
Aye.
Commissioner Rodoni,
Aye.
Commissioner Kohler,
Aye.
Commissioner Murray,
Aye.
Commissioner Loader,
Aye.
Chair McEntee.
Aye.
Motion passes.
Thank you very much. Okay, we'll move to business item number 7, approval of the 2022 commission calendar and discussion of returning to in-person meetings. Jason.
All right, so in front of you, normally this is a consent calendar item just to approve next year's thing. The dates that you see in there are what I call our traditional dates, second Tuesday, even numbered month, 7 p.m. The key point that I want to have the commission to have a discussion about is returning back to in-person meetings. What guidance do you want to give us? So far, we've been doing these all by Zoom, but you're starting to see like the county has gone back. Mill Valley, from what I understand, has gone back to in-person. But none of the other cities have. Some of the special districts are starting to go back to in-person, but not all of them have either. So I'm looking for some level of guidance as to clearly we have to, if we stay virtual, there are some determinations that need to be made and that we need to follow in order to do that. And as long as we can continue to meet those determinations, we can meet virtually for, I think it's another 2 years or something like that. But the reality is at some point, hopefully we get back to in-person meetings. As much as I like having these meetings online, and so as soon as I'm done, I can go jump in bed if I want to. if it's late enough, it still would be nice to get back to in person. So I'm looking for some guidance as to when the commission itself is comfortable going back. And I will add that staff will continue to work with the chair to monitor what is the current situation like with COVID, because that's the main cause for us to be virtual. Like Omicron just came out, is a new variant, and there's some concern. There's still some science that's starting to reveal itself a little bit. But the question is, what guidance do you want to give as a commission to us, to both myself as well as to the chairs, to how quickly should we try and push the envelope to come back in person, or how slow do we want to be in staying online?
Okay, Commissioner Rodoni, nice to have you back with us, Commissioner Rodoni.
Thank you. Jason, I just wonder if you've looked into hybrid possibilities. The county has gone fully hybrid and it's been seamless, and it allows members of the public to come in remotely. It allows board members, if they need to, come into the meeting remotely. It's a little expensive for us, but I don't know if you could check with your IT people and see if it's a possibility for you.
I mean, to be fair, we don't have an IT person for this. We use Marin TV, and it's more a matter of, is the room that we're using able to facilitate that type of situation? And that is actually, I thank you for, Dennis, Supervisor, for bringing that up, because that was going to be my other question is, do we want to try and do hybrids? There are definitely extra costs involved. I would be a little nervous about it, both from a cost, but also from a functional standpoint. But I'm happy to entertain that if that's what the commission wants to do. I know where we normally meet is at Marin Clean Energy, and once we get their doors open and we're able to go meet there again, they actually do multi-location meetings. So I'm assuming that room has some capabilities set up to do a virtual meeting along with in-person in the room at the same time. So please give me guidance on what you want to, if you want to go to that hybrid model or not.
Commissioner Kohler.
Yeah, so I sit on the board of the Community Media Center of Marin. And other than Mill Valley, CMCM has set up all the cities for a hybrid model. And MCE does a fee for service with CMCM, so I'm not sure if they've asked for a hybrid. Doing virtual meetings with our different office in Concord, I sit on the MCE board as well, is not the same as doing a hybrid Zoom meeting. So it's a different thing. And I'm not sure if they have set up MCE for that. And right now, MCE is not even talking about going back in person. And they have not asked their staff to go back to the office. So I think that's one thing I gave you a heads up beforehand that you'd need to check with them. And the hybrid Zoom model, except for some places like the county that went ahead without consulting with CMCM, is not that expensive to set up in the room, but it does take some time for them to set it up if MCE hasn't already asked for it. I think the difficulty with it is running both things. Now, the good thing about our LAFCo is we don't have that many people participate. It's different than
Yeah.
the city council meeting where you've got a whole lot of people. And I've seen Matthew Willis's sort of suggestions for running in-person meeting, and it's really not attainable by a small city for sure. There's a lot of requirements. But I think my suggestion would be to check in with MCE and see if the room is capable for a hybrid Zoom meeting. And then I suggest, as all the city managers other than Mill Valley are doing, is they're waiting to really look at it again in January. And they're just not sure because we just want to see what's happening with the new variant and if there's going to be other variants. So Jim Schutz from San Rafael sits on the CMCM board, and he reported that for the Marin managers. So it's a little kind of up in the air right now. But I think if we did go back in person, we'd have an easier time controlling it because we don't have 50 people show up. That room is also not set up for a lot of public members, as you may recall. You can probably sit about 6 people on the side and they're right next to each other. Okay, thanks.
Thank you, Commissioner Kohler. Commissioner Campbell.
Thanks. I'm mostly going to echo what Barbara said. We did one hybrid meeting in Belvedere. I don't know if we did it with CMC, but we're a tiny town. It was very inexpensive. We did it with a camera that we had. I thought it went pretty well. We had nobody in the meeting except for the city council. No one else came, but we had a lot of attendees on Zoom. But I'd like to just say the same, as I think it's a little bit of an unknown still at this point for me to feel comfortable making a decision about a time to get back together in person. Having just spoken to a friend in Washington, D.C., who was just told that after 3 vaccinations, they tested positive for COVID, and they were informed by a contact tracer while they were in a holiday party in their office. So I think there's something out there that's really still questionable how safe it is to be gathering.
Yeah, and if I can ask Mala, what are the regulations about if we do the hybrid model? Do we have to allow the room to be open to the public? Or can the members be in the room and the public only by Zoom? I just want to make sure that everyone understands what the hybrid model means for us.
While we're in this period of AB 361 applying, and we have the governor who has extended the state of emergency through March of 2022, we have a lot of flexibility. For instance, we're still able to do the fully Zoom meeting. We can kind of do this mix and match. If we go back to what I'll call the original Brown Act without AB 361, and we do a hybrid method, then the board would be either all together in a room, or if some of the board is in another location, we have to list all of those locations on the agenda and make those locations available to the public. And then if we had the hybrid option, members of the public could participate via Zoom or some other platform. I have heard, I think similar to what some of the commissioners have mentioned, that when these hybrid options are given, that many, or if not all, members of the public seem to be participating via the Zoom option as opposed to in person, but we would still need to keep the room open to members of the public should they choose to join in person.
Okay. Is there any public comment on this item?
We have no hands raised and no emails received.
Seeing none, we'll close the public comment and bring it back to the commissioner. It sounds to me like there is some desire to either do hybrid or stay remote. How does the commission feel about us just planning on a remote meeting for February and then making a decision in February whether to go in person or continue there? Okay, it looks like I'm seeing some nodding heads there on that in-person part. Then if we can vote on the 2022 meeting schedule. Oh, Commissioner Marin.
Just for Mala, do we have to do any positive resolutions or anything in terms of our meeting decisions and doing things remotely?
No, we'll need to keep bringing back that resolution you've seen on the agenda to allow us to meet remotely. So that'll come back on your February meeting, and then this discussion will come back as well, it sounds like.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so then it sounds like we're going to give staff direction that we would like to meet by Zoom in February, and then at the February meeting have this discussion again about the in-person part. But we can maybe have if anyone would like to make a motion on the 2022 meeting schedule, we can do that, dispense with that part, and then we can continue the in-person discussion to the next meeting.
I'll make a motion on the 2022 schedule.
I'll second.
Commissioner Rodoni, did you have a comment?
Just a question for Marla. You had mentioned March 22 for AB 361. I believe that goes much longer than that. Is that not true? Like till the end of 23 or something? That option?
You're correct, but in order to utilize the option, Commissioner Rodoni, we need to be in a state of emergency. And so the governor extended the state of emergency through March of 2022. So that's the only reason I said the March 2022 deadline. Presuming the governor further extends that state of emergency, we'll have additional time to utilize.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you for that clarifying question. That's helpful. So we have a motion and a second. Olivia, will you please call the roll?
Vice Chair Caius,
Aye.
Commissioner Arnold,
Aye.
Commissioner Rodoni,
Aye.
Fuller,
Aye.
Commissioner Murray,
Aye.
Commissioner Loader,
Aye.
Chair McEntee.
Aye.
Motion passes.
Thank you very much. Okay. Well, I'm waiting for my agenda to pop up here. Yeah, we did, Mill Valley is meeting in person, and I did have to do the old style Brown Act remote location when I attended the meeting by teleconference on Monday. So it is a consideration. Okay. We are now to business item number 9, receive and file GASB 75 report and approve contract with McLeod Watts for fiscal year 2021 GASB 75 report. Jason.
Yeah, so what you have in the packet is the most recent GASB 75 report that McLeod Watts did for us. For those that aren't aware, GASB 75 reports are required by the fact that we have some contributions in CalPERS for our future retiree health system. The report shows that we are actually in good shape. If anything, we technically have a little bit more money than we need to have in that account, but not by much. And if you look at the report, it actually shows you in a very short period, we will need to make contributions again, but at least for right now, we don't. So we're at 100% funding for our future retiree OPEBs. We've always counted our one current retiree separately, and they're in a different system. So they're not part of this report directly in how much money we need to have with CalPERS. But CalPERS is for future retirees. For example, if I stay with LAFCo long enough and I'm lucky to retire here, you would then have my future health needs would be covered by what you have in the account currently. So, and same goes with the rest of the staff as well. So we're in good shape there, which is always a nice thing to have, that we're, we spent a little bit of money in the previous year because we had some excess funds to build that account up. So I'm happy that we're at the 100% funding level, technically slightly over the amount. And then the second half of this is the GASB reports are actually done in two-year cycles. We get 2 reports out of it. The first report is a little more in-depth and heavy, and the second report, the one issue you have today, is like kind of a recap and just making sure that they're updating, like how did CalPERS actually do in its future investments, and like updating things just to make sure everything is fresh and we know what's going on, but they don't do as in-depth on the staff side of things. So what you have in front of you as well is a contract to continue to use McLeod Watts. I have found them to be extremely useful. They happen to do several agencies in Marin County, while they're not located in the area. Our Kathy, who is our person that I go to anytime I've had a question on something that's even remotely related to OPEB stuff, even if it's not technically GASB 75, she's been happy to give me a quick answer, doesn't charge us for it. So I've been very happy to and want to keep her in our thing. What you see in front of you is a BBK approved contract. They gave us some sample contracts a while ago, and McLeod Watts and I filled in the gaps to the fill-in sections that is in the BBK contract, and that's what you have in front of you today. They're charging us is slightly different. We're paying a little bit more for the year 1 contract than what we paid in the previous cycle, and we're paying a little bit less than what we paid for the second year agreement. It's just how they do things. Overall, there's a slight increase, but that would be expected cost of living type increases, type of a thing. So I don't see anything out of the ordinary with their request to increase. I think it comes out to about on average 3% a year in total between the 2 years from the current agreement that we have with them. So that's what's in front of you, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Jason, just to clarify, because these things are sometimes confusing, this is GASB 75 is just OPEBs, even though you mentioned PERS. It's because we're doing it through that SERPT. Do you want to just clarify that it's not? This is not the pension actuarial report. This is
this is not our pension. This is simply OPEBs, and we do it through CalPERS. Is where our and it's just to even clarify more. It's our OPEBs for CalPERS, which is for future retirees. Our current retiree is not really considered part of that.
Yep. Because we just have the one current retiree.
Yeah.
Okay. Any other questions from the commission? Seeing none, is there any public comment on this item?
No hands raised, no emails received.
Okay, hearing none, we'll close public comment, bring it back to the commission for, this is just receive report. Do you need a motion to approve or?
Yeah, you want to receive the report and approve a new contract
Approve the
with
contract,
McLeod Watts.
Got it. Okay, so the motion is going to be to approve the contract. Do I have
Yes.
if there's no further deliberation, is there a motion to approve the contract?
I'll move that.
Moved by Commissioner Arnold,
I'll second it.
seconded by Vice Chair Caius. Olivia, will you please call the roll?
Yep, of course. Vice Chair Caius,
Aye.
Commissioner Arnold,
Aye.
Commissioner Rodoni,
Aye.
Commissioner Kohler,
Aye.
Commissioner Murray,
Aye.
Commissioner Loader,
Aye.
Chair McEntee.
Aye.
Motion passes. And can I just get a clarification of who the motion was by?
Commissioner Arnold and seconded by
Caius.
Vice Caius. Yeah,
Perfect. Thank you.
no problem. So we're moving on to business item number 10, authorization to make payment from county fund to Mserra. Jason.
Yeah, so our current Marin LAFCo policy 3.13 BI, which dictates how our county account, the money that all of our money that we collect from all of our member agencies goes into the county and it sits there until we need to use it for something else. Most of our, everything but one item at this point is paid out of our Bank of Marin account, and the commission has already authorized the executive officer to transfer money from the county account to our Bank of Marin account once a quarter to help cover any costs that we have. We get interest in our Bank of Marin or in our county account, but not in Bank of Marin, which is why we try and keep as much as we can in a realistic way with the county, because we get interest there and then we transfer what we need for our quarter's worth of money. Mserra has traditionally, like all of our benefits used to be paid out of our county account, but as those things have been transitioned over to us paying, we have transitioned most of those things to Bank of Marin, paying it out of Bank of Marin. Mserra is the one exception to that. And in reading this, I realized we need to make, I think we're going to be making quarterly payments to Mserra. The county used to do it for us, and this is like kind of my first learning of how we pay Mserra. So we need to pay them once a quarter, it looks like. And so what I'm requesting today is to make our first quarter payment for the current fiscal year that we're in, which is $27,983.62. You will find the policy committee is going to be meeting in early January. And one of the items on their list is to actually ask that, just as we do with the Bank of Marin payment, that we make the Mserra payment an automatic thing, so I don't have to come back to you every quarter to ask you if I can make a payment to Mserra to pay what we need to pay them, because it's a pretty predictable amount of money. But until we get that policy changed, I wanted to stick to what our policy currently says, which is in order to pay anything out of the county account, except for the transfer of money to the Bank of Marin account, it needs the commission's approval. So I'm here today to ask for that approval. Hopefully in the future, this will be the only time I have to do that.
Okay, any questions from the commission on that? A little complicated process-wise, but I think, Jason, you explained that well. Okay, seeing no questions from the commission, any public comment on this item?
No hands raised, no emails received.
Okay, we'll close public comment and bring it back to the commission for any deliberation or motion.
Make the motion to approve the transfer of funds, payment from the county fund to Mserra.
Second.
Moved by Vice Chair Caius and seconded by Commissioner Arnold. Olivia, will you please call the roll?
Of course. Vice Chair Caius,
Aye.
Commissioner Arnold,
Aye.
Commissioner Rodoni,
Aye.
Commissioner Kohler,
Aye.
Commissioner Murray,
Aye.
Commissioner Loader,
Aye.
Chair McEntee.
Aye.
Motion passes.
All right, thank you very much. I believe that was yes, it was the last of the business items, and now we'll move to the executive officer report.
Okay, so as I will always do, I will do my best to quickly run through each item. If you want to stop me on an item, just raise your hand and I'll stop and on that item. Otherwise, I'm just going to rapid charge through these as quickly as I can for you. Budget update. We are currently at official, what's in the report is, it says 32.5% of our funds spent for the year. We should, this time of the year, we should be at 42% in that report. Although, as I note in the budget report, based on when the payroll was done on the very last day of last month, and Elisa came in just prior to that to reconcile our books. So there's technically one payroll missing that was done in September for this. So or not September, but through November. I realize there's a typo in the staff report there. It should say through November 30th, 2021. So there's technically one payroll missing. So we're in reality somewhere between 35 and 36% of our budget. So we're still coming in either which way. We're still coming in under budget for the year, which is good. That's partly continued due to COVID. We don't have our travel costs and stuff like that we might be occurring otherwise. So that is there. No other updates on any of the individual line items. Some of them are slightly over, but they're, as previously reported, we know why that has been done. So moving on then to the next item within the EO report, current and pending proposals. We continue to, get a few proposals in, and we continue to move them through the process. The one that you will be noting is CSA 18 is a new one. We will have a much broader discussion about this at our February meeting, but that is, as a reminder, came out of our San Rafael MSR, where we talked about the fact that we had a CSA that was much larger than it should be, and this will be shrinking its boundaries to what the recommendations are from this CAC and the Board of Supervisors. So that's an upcoming one, and we have a couple of others that also will be upcoming as well that we anticipate coming in soon. So we do have, while we were quiet for a while with applications, we seem to be getting them coming in at a pretty good, steady pace. Luckily, it's not too many at once, but a good steady pace of applications seem to be coming in the pipeline. Moving on, you will see in the packet, Chair McEntee had asked that we incorporate in so you could see what the actual applications or the submittals for the Cal LAFCo awards, what the commission submitted on my behalf and what we submitted on Chair McEntee's behalf. The way the process they have is actually, it's like a fill-in PDF system. So I didn't have that full PDF because it was how it gets submitted. So I just cut and pasted the words that we use. So it's not the exact format, but the words that got used for those two particular, for filling those two sections out. So you have that to look at if you so desire. You will see some commission.
Just noting that I just wanted to have that in there because, this is our commission's words about our executive officer, and just wanted to make sure that was on the public record.
Thank you for that.
Yeah.
And I will add that I'm glad to have added in the great words for you, Chair McEntee, as well, for all the work you've done.
Thank you very much.
And Cal LAFCo still messed that up, those awards up. So moving on to the next item, commission correspondence. You had already received, but because I sent it to the entire commission, I wanted to put it in the packet. A letter from Davis Farr. They have started our next audit. And so if you have any issues, any concerns, read the letter and contact them directly. Do not contact me. They're the ones you're supposed to contact if you have any issues, because that's their job to bring up, to review any issues. If you bring it up with me, of course, I will always pass that stuff on. But the theory is if I'm doing something wrong, I'm not going to pass it on to them to look into me. So it's always best to have the policies, contact them directly. There is also a communication from Commissioner Murray that he wanted to share with the commission. So you have that information in there. And then the final item that's listed in the executive officer's report is kind of tying into our previous item around the digitalization. Olivia and I have started to try and figure out if we can find an intern to help us do all the remediation work. We're about to get a huge ton of files that need to have remediation, way more work than Olivia, I, or Jaron could potentially even think about doing. And so we're in the process of looking for an intern. There is a program at San Jose State that Olivia found that where they train people actually how to do remediation work. And so we're trying to see if we can't find an intern from that program to come work for us. Unfortunately, we kind of got late into the process for the upcoming semester. So I'm not too confident right now that we're going to have an intern right away, but we are in the process of looking for one. If any of you know someone who wants to learn how to do remediation stuff, Olivia is more than happy to train them, and we'll take them in-house and teach them how to do it all, and they can help us do a bunch of remediation work so we can get our digital library up and running that much quicker. So I just wanted to give you a heads up that we are working on that, and hopefully, well, we may not get someone for the first semester of 2022. Hopefully we'll get someone either over the summer or the first semester of next school year. Is kind of what we're looking at. And then I want to add two other things to just to make sure that you're all aware of. First off, just as a reminder, we're coming up to the December holiday season. The LAFCo office will be closed between Christmas. Technically, Christmas is on a Saturday, so the day before Christmas Eve, the office will close through January 1st, and then we'll come back whatever that following Monday is. I think it's like the 2nd or 3rd or something like that. We will be back in the office. So the office will be completely closed and dark. Historically, nothing ever happens that week with us. Everyone's doing their family holiday stuff. All the county and all the cities they're all doing their family stuff as well. So it's a good time for us to everyone to be able to recharge their batteries, spend time with their family. So our office is dark that week. Just wanted to give you a heads up in case you're looking for us. We will put notes up on our door and on our website so folks are aware that that's going on. And then one final thing, just so you're aware, during that break, Fort Point, our IT folks, formerly known as Marin LAFCo, are going to be transferring our server over to the Microsoft OneDrive system, which will give it a virtual cloud approach. What we're going to be doing is, assuming that that works for us and everything transfers correctly, you will find that our February meeting, you will get the agenda packet in 2 different online systems. We will continue to use Dropbox for a meeting to make sure that you all know how that works. But OneDrive will also give us the ability to do online systems. So I'm going to want you all to test to see how well you like OneDrive compared to Dropbox. OneDrive has a lot of advantages from we can create one folder for you and then put subfolders in there that have all the meetings. So you never have to worry about finding a link again. It's always going to be the same link to get into OneDrive. And then every meeting that you want to look at, you can go back and look at previous meetings and everything. It should be a lot better. The question is it as functional for you to use? And that's going to be what we're going to be testing in February, assuming everything else works, which way works best for the commission as a whole. So we'll probably have a short discussion at the February meeting just so we can get an understanding of which way you guys want to go. And whichever way you want to do is how we will move forward with that. Or if we need to work out bugs in OneDrive, we'll figure that stuff out too. So just wanted to give you a heads up on that stuff. That's all I have for the executive officer's report. Happy to answer any questions, any other questions you might have.
Jason, can you find out whether or not either option, Dropbox, we know the way it is, but OneDrive, whether the intention is that's going to be read only or whether, I would presume that if anyone wants to make annotations to their copy of it, they would make a separate copy. Is that if you can find that out?
That is a very good question. We'll forward that to Travis at Marin LAFCo or Fort Point. I'm sorry, I need to start using the correct company name for them.
Okay.
We'll make sure that we want to make sure that everyone can pull documents but can't edit the one that's in there, but that there's a way for you to pull it and edit on your own. I know we've been using OneDrive a little bit in the office right now, just kind of test driving it with our own personal file stuff. And when I pull stuff out of the server right now, or when I pull documents, there's actually you cannot edit until you hit a button. And so I want to make sure that if you hit that button, that you're not changing the entire document for everyone, but that it's becoming something that you're downloading to yourself that then you can edit.
Yep. Commissioner Kohler?
Just a question on the intern. I'm just wondering if you could tell us kind of what the pay is. And if you want us to get the word out, San Jose State sounds great, but if Olivia is willing to train someone, you might even be able to get by with a high school or college of Marin student that just would be interested in doing something like that to learn a little bit about LAFCo while they're doing that remediation work. So if you feel like you want to do some kind of an ad, we do a newsletter every week, and I can ask that we put it in. But what are you thinking of the pay for an hour sort of deal?
For now, we're not looking to pay. The San Jose State program is an unpaid internship program. You get college credits.
Okay.
And so I generally look for, when I do internship, like I did internships with San Francisco LAFCo as well. There was a slightly different program because we were doing complex papers. Some of our special reports were done doing that system. But my goal is always find students who can get college credits for it. That way they're getting something out of it for their graduation. And the reason why San Jose looks so attractive is this is exactly the work that these students are wanting to do when they graduate from school.
Okay, sounds perfect. Thank you.
Any other questions on the executive officer report? Seeing none, any public comment on the executive officer report?
No hands raised, no emails received.
Okay, close public comment. There's no deliberation. Then we will, I guess we're going to move to closed session and then we'll come back for the adjournment of this meeting. Is that correct, Mala?
Correct.
Yeah, and
Okay.
so everyone should have in the original email Olivia sent last week, should have a second Zoom link. That second Zoom link is Mala's. If you can't find it, don't know where it's at, raise your hand. Olivia can quickly send you the link so you have it. And I will see everyone back here in a little bit. See you in the other room in about 10 seconds, 20 seconds, however long it takes us to get over there.
All right, thank you.
Okay, thanks.
Okay. Mala, do you have anything to report from our closed session?
Thank you, Chair. The commission gave direction to legal counsel regarding the closed session matter.
Okay, thank you very much. We'll move on to Commissioner ideas for future. Let's see, where am I?
Commissioner
Announcements and requests. Thank you very much. It's I went into City of Mill Valley mode there. I think particularly based on our closed session, I'm wondering if it would be good to have an item revisiting our reserve policy, and whether we want to have reserves enough to allow us to pursue legal action to enforce the work that we have. So if the rest of the commission is amenable to having that be a future item, or at least maybe for the budget committee. Yes,
I
Jason.
was gonna say the Policy and Personnel Committee is meeting already in January. I can throw that
Right.
onto the agenda to have a discussion about there.
Okay. All right. If the rest of the commission is okay with adding that to the agenda, it looks like that's concurrence. We don't, Molly, do we need a vote on something like that? No. Okay. Okay. Any other commissioner announcements or requests? Okay. So seeing none, we're going to adjourn to the next meeting, which is February 10th, 2022 at 7 p.m. That will also be on Zoom.
Thank you. Bye, everyone.
you.
Have a good holiday.
Thanks,
Happy
everybody.
holidays.
Happy
All right.
holidays.
Good
Happy
evening, everyone.
holidays, everyone.
Okay, good night.